I want you to stand somewhere with me for a second. You're inside the Pantheon in Rome. It's quiet. Light is pouring down through a single hole in the ceiling, and that ceiling was poured by hand out of concrete 2,000 years ago. No steel, no rebar, nothing holding it up but a recipe. And it is still today the largest unreinforced concrete dome on Earth. Now here's the thing I can't get over. The concrete on your street, the road outside, the bridge you crossed this morning, most of it won't last 100 years. Theirs has lasted 20 centuries, through earthquakes, sitting in seawater. In some places it actually got stronger as it aged, and for almost all of modern history we couldn't tell you why. We just shrugged and said the Romans got lucky. One man refused to believe that, and a couple of years ago he proved us all wrong. To feel why this is such a mystery, you have to see how much of it there is. The Romans didn't pour a few special buildings. They poured concrete across 3 continents. They had a name for it: opus cementitium, lime, volcanic ash, water, a bit of rubble. And with it they rebuilt the world. The Colosseum, 50,000 people resting on concrete. The aqueducts striding across whole valleys on concrete arches. Some of them still carry water into Rome today. Think about that. Infrastructure still doing its job 2,000 years after the people who built it turned to dust. But this is the part that honestly shouldn't be possible. The Romans built piers and breakwaters directly in the sea. And seawater destroys our concrete. It eats it, cracks it, drops it into the surf within decades. Theirs did the opposite. Roman sea concrete kept reacting with the salt water, growing brand new minerals inside itself, getting harder over the centuries. They built structures that used the ocean, the thing meant to destroy them, to make themselves stronger. This wasn't a fluke. This was a technology, understood and repeated for hundreds of years. And then, almost overnight, it was gone. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed, we always talk about the armies and the emperors. But it lost something quieter, and in a way sadder: it lost its know-how. The formula for that concrete was never written down as one neat recipe. It lived in people, in the hands of the builders, passed from a master to the young apprentice standing next to him. And when those workshops shut their doors for the last time, the knowledge walked out with them and simply died. For something like 1,000 years, nobody in Europe could do this again. Picture a medieval mason standing in the shadow of a Roman aqueduct he uses every day, and he cannot build it. He'll even chip stone off the old ruins to reuse, because the concrete itself, the chemistry of it, is beyond him. It took until the 17 and 1800s to claw our way back, and then to invent Portland cement, the gray powder in nearly every building you've ever walked into. And it's a miracle of cheapness and speed. But it carries a flaw the Romans never had: our concrete cracks. And once it cracks, water sneaks in, rusts the steel inside, and the whole thing slowly dies from within. We built the entire modern world on concrete with an expiry date. So for about a century, scientists tried to crack the Roman secret. And to be fair, they got part of it: volcanic ash. The Romans, especially around the Bay of Naples, mixed in a volcanic sand called pozzolana, and with lime and seawater it forms these rare, ridiculously stable minerals. For years that was the answer: the ash. Done. Except one little detail never sat right. Every time researchers put Roman concrete under a microscope, they kept seeing these tiny white lumps scattered all through it, chunks of lime, a millimeter or two across. And modern engineers looked at those white specks and saw one thing: a mistake, sloppy mixing, bad quality control. For decades that was the verdict: that the greatest concrete ever made was, in this one embarrassing detail, just carelessly done. And there was one scientist, Admir Mazik, at MIT, who looked at those specs and just couldn't swallow it. These were engineers who optimized everything. Why would they allow the exact same defect in every single batch for centuries across an entire empire? That's not carelessness. That's a choice. His gut said there has to be more to this story. In 2023, Mazik and a team from MIT and Harvard published what those white specks really were, and it turned 100 years of assumption completely on its head. The lime clasts weren't a mistake. They were the entire secret. The Romans weren't gently mixing in calm, slaked lime like we assumed. They were using quicklime, raw, hungry, reactive lime and mixing it hot. Hot mixing. And that violent little reaction did something beautiful. It salted the whole structure with these brittle, calcium-rich specks. Thousands of tiny reservoirs waiting for what? For the day the concrete cracks, because all concrete cracks eventually. And when a crack opens in Roman concrete, it runs straight into one of those white specks. Rain gets in. The water dissolves the calcium out of the speck. And then that dissolved calcium recrystallizes right inside the crack as fresh new stone and seals it shut. The concrete heals itself, like a scab, like it's alive, and they proved it. They cracked a block of Roman-style concrete on purpose, ran water through it, and in 2 weeks it had sealed itself completely shut. A modern sample never healed. 2,000 years later, we finally understood what that builder knew in his hands. And here's why I think this is more than a lovely piece of solved history. Making our modern cement is brutal on the planet. It's responsible for around 8% of all human carbon emissions. 8%. That's more than every plane in the sky. And because our concrete dies so young, we tear it down and pour it all over again, every few decades forever. Now picture concrete that heals its own cracks. That lasts 500 years instead of 50. That you pour once and hand down to people who won't be born for centuries. Companies are already chasing exactly this, self-healing, hot mixed concrete built on this discovery. Roman chemistry coming back with modern tools. But the thing I keep coming back to isn't the chemistry. It's the humility of it. For 2,000 years, we assumed we were the clever ones, that the people before us got by on luck. And the whole time, the answer to one of our biggest engineering problems was hiding inside a flaw we'd been sneering at since before any of us were born. The Romans didn't leave us the recipe. They didn't think they had to. They just built the thing to outlive them, and my God, it did. So let me leave you with a question I can't shake. If a 2,000-year-old mistake turns out to be genius, what else have we been getting wrong? I'd love to hear what you think, so tell me in the comments below. And tell me what you want me to uncover next, because I read every single one. If this changed the way you see the ancient world, even a little, hit that subscribe button and stick around. There's so much more history the textbooks got wrong. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.